Today I'm in a field, quite peaceful out here in the country in North Carolina. It's about 74 degrees outside, and I just wanted to kind of just come and sit and talk just about things I've been thinking, what I've been doing, what I'm planning. It's kind of going through my head, and some things lately that I kind of just been circulating about. So I feel like when I start circulating, I need to do something with it. So I figured making a video would suffice. I think a lot about decisions and how life is just kind of threaded with decisions and what we do with our decisions, and they're made out of our choices that we make. But ultimately it's the decision from the choices that make our lives ours. I feel like I'm too close to this camera. I think a lot about making the wrong decision sometimes, and also deciphering what is the wrong and the right decision. What am I basing it on? Who ultimately decides whether it's wrong or right? And what does that look like? And ultimately what I came to as a consensus is that, I feel like there is no wrong or right things, decisions, choices. It's just you choose what you want, what your head and your heart are telling you, and then you make that decision, right or wrong. I think there is no real right or wrong path you could take. Ultimately, it's just on how you view it. Because I feel like I put a lot of pressure on myself lately to make the right decisions and, try to keep people in mind, and how, my decisions will impact them. But also, I'm not living for other people. I'm living for me and what I want to do and what would fulfill me out of life. I wish to be on that plane right now. It flies very low. I think a lot about leaving too. I've just been kind of waiting for the right time to, do certain things. I don't think I'll ever be ready to, go or do. I don't think there's ever a correct time to do anything. I just think that you just have to make yourself do it. And, through doing it, then ultimately you'll know that it was the right time. I don't think there's a correct time to do anything, because really it's not up to you. I think the universe just gives you opportunities when you want it bad enough, the decision of whether you take that opportunity or not. I feel it's so crazy that all of the decisions that we make are what determines what makes us happy or what makes us think that we have a terrible life. And of course there's things that are out of our control, people, diseases, sickness, things like that. It's all out of our control, but I think it's ultimately how we decide to move forward is the thing that makes us happy or not. I think a lot about country life, being out here, and it being so quiet that I feel like I can be okay with doing nothing, as I have such a hard time with sitting still. And especially nowadays, like, all of our brains are scrambled basically and craving the dopamine addiction, and sometimes our phone gives us that, sometimes our work gives us that, Nobody ever really sits anymore. And I really feel like the country gives that to me, and I feel like in the city I lost that. I was just like, everyone around me is working, and so I'm working, and so that feels good. I don't know. Nature just does something else to me, and I think I really want to incorporate that wherever I go next in life. And I think that that's something that's important to me. That's what I've ultimately decided. Because that's something that I did miss in the city, was nature. And so now I'm just looking for that happy medium, I suppose. Or maybe I'm just looking for nature at this point, because I've already done the city, I also think a lot about, how I'm always chasing these new things, these new adventures, new places, and discovering things. And I think a lot about that, and I think it's just because I just haven't found a place where I feel very comfortable, and I haven't found a place that I feel like is mine and it's home. And so I feel like I'm always in search for that, and I feel like until I find that, then I will always be searching for something else, I feel like that's how it is with all aspects of my life. And I guess that's the idea of, what we want and what makes us satisfied in life. I don't know, I think it's all subjective. Everything is very subjective. I also like the idea of just impulsiveness, where I could just drop something and tell no one about it and just go escape. That just seems like a really freeing idea, to be just free, alone by yourself, and no one really knowing where you are. It's just like true freedom, right? I think a lot about what it would be like to live in another country too. I think it'd be very exciting, and I think I would love to immerse myself into a culture that I know nothing about, or maybe has more of a sense of a community, because there are a lot of aspects that I'm looking for that I cannot get here, and I know that. And so I think, what if in like 2 years, if I can't find a place here, maybe I should be looking elsewhere, maybe across the sea. And that idea kind of has been, getting to my head too, of like just starting a new life in another country somewhere else where nobody knows you, nobody, that also sounds really good. And all of these ideas seem so impossible, but one thing that I've learned in the past 2 years is that, if you say something, it is possible to do it. It is something that is obtainable. Like, nothing really is impossible because other people have done it. And so I feel like it's possible for you to do it too, like it's possible for me to do it. Like, if I want to do something, I can put my mind to it and do it. I think it's also a nice challenge to, say you're going to do something and then you end up doing it, and then you accomplishing it, and then you having more trust in yourself than you ever have before, because you set out to do what you were going to say you were going to do. And there's validity in that. And there's confidence and trust building with yourself. And I think that's ultimately how you grow really well as a person. Chasing something that you want and taking the steps to get it and then getting it. That right there, all of that is such a good feeling. And I personally love doing that, I don't know, there's a lot of potential outcomes that I can take, that I can do right now, because I don't have any strings attached. I don't have any roots set anywhere. Like, I can literally go wherever I want to. All I need is just that thing that makes the world go round, right? That money. But, everything is obtainable. The sky's the limit. So, it's just, maybe sometimes I feel overwhelmed with all of those possibilities. One thing I do know, that I want to be living somewhere with nature. And I want to see, wildlife. And I just want to be able to do things on a whim without anything kind of holding me down. Because that's just what I feel like I need right now. And, maybe I need a lot of adventures. Maybe I need to do some home searching. I don't know. But that's kind of just been what I've been thinking lately. The thoughts kind of been going through my head. I'm just asking myself a lot of questions. And if you follow my Patreon, you see what I journal about and some of the questions that I ask myself. And I ask myself quite a few questions a day. Is this ultimately what I'm chasing? Is this ultimately what I want? Is this how I feel? Like, what do I want to be doing in a year from now? What is it that makes me happy? Where do I find the most joy? So, by answering these questions, like, every day, I'm always thinking about, my next steps. I'm always thinking about, what I want, what I need, what I would like to have. I am always thinking, and I think it's always good to be thinking, but it's also good to be doing, and finding those things and seeing how these things play out. And it feels like I've lived like two separate lives in my life. Like, I've had my own home life with a partner in an apartment in a city, but I've also had, a childhood and that life, and the high school and the school and the growing up, and I've had those two life experiences. So now what's the next chapter? What's the next life experience? I think it's like road tripping. I feel like it's my next way of life. You come here and you're born with nothing, and you chase everything. You think and feel and want and desire. You chase it all, and you may end up getting it, but then you still leave here with nothing. So, how do you make the most purpose and the most sense of your life? That's another thing that I ultimately think about. And, when I'm making choices and decisions, that those hard things, like, what is going to make me the most happiest right now? And I feel like asking myself that now, instead of what's going to benefit me in the future. I feel like that's kind of what I've been doing lately, is just, what's going to make me happy right now? Because who knows, you may not get the future. You're not promised tomorrow. You don't know what's going to happen a month or two from now, or even a year or 4. And so I feel like now I just kind of base my choices and my decisions off of what's going to make me happy now. Because no one could get mad at you for that. Chasing your own happiness. Maybe I just want to find joy. Maybe it's not even about happiness. Because happiness is something you get as a result of doing something. Joy is just there. Joy is just, eternal, I guess. Like it lasts. It's also something I think about too. Is it really happiness that I'm chasing, or is it something else? I just have all these thoughts. And they just kind of constantly go in and out of my brain, and, they're in and out on loop and not, and, I have answers, and then some days it changes, and it throws me off. And then other days I want the same thing, and I work towards something, and it's just interesting. It's difficult. I hope you guys enjoyed this or related to it, or, out there trying to do similar things to me. I'm selling my artwork, which I just started doing. I'm selling my prints. So I do photography, and I've started selling them. So the link is in the description below if you want to go check out my prints, my photography prints. I also have a Patreon page where you can get those journal entries and shorts, videos, and photos. So you can also check that out. It's also in the description. But yeah, I just wanted to come on here and just kind of say what I was thinking. Maybe come find an answer today. And maybe it'll be different tomorrow, but that's tomorrow's issue, Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out. Enjoy life. Live it up.